Hi guys, it's Ben here. I'm back with you again today to present another video on another really powerful daily ritual, and that ritual is processing your day. This is something that I've been doing in my own life for a lot of years now, and it made a huge impact in my life, and it still makes a huge impact in my life every single day. And again, these rituals only work if you put them into practice, and that's really the catch-22 about them, is if you don't do them, you can't expect them to have any result in your life. But I've been doing this for many years, and it works for a number of reasons. First of all, oftentimes in our life, we go through our day-to-day routine and we have things come up. We have stresses, we have conflicts, we have other people's agendas, we have people that we're trying to please, all these things that happen on a day-to-day basis that sometimes can cause a lot of residual pent-up emotions that really get in the way of us being able to express who we really want to be and to live out our full potential. Now, these things aren't always a problem when they're dealt with and processed on a day-to-day basis, because we can literally process them, resolve them, dissolve them, take action, let go of them, and we can start the next day fresh with a clean slate. And this is, again, one of the most valuable parts of this process is if we take the time to process our day, then a lot of the stresses that we process, we can release those stresses and we can move on to the next day and feel refreshed, grateful, more present and engaged in our life. But if we don't, what tends to happen is these emotions build up. They get more intense. So if you can imagine like a balloon has a certain capacity to hold air before it pops. Okay, so in the same way, our mind and our body has a certain capacity to tolerate strong negative emotions, and whether it be anger or fear or whatever it might be, before it starts to really affect our ability to function as human beings and to be functional. So if we suppress our emotions or we fail to process them in any way, what happens is they build up and they become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until eventually they have to come out somewhere, and there has to be a breaking point or a point of release. And this is why people have mental emotional breakdowns or midlife crises, or develop addictions and different compulsive behaviors. Whatever it is, a lot of these things stem from our inability to process our emotions and to resolve conflicts and stresses in our lives. And after a while, our whole life becomes absorbed and we become overwhelmed by stress. And if we look at the current epidemic in Australia, 20% of people suffer from a severe mental health condition. That's 1 in 5. Now, if you think about that, that's a lot of people. If we've got 23 million people in Australia, that's 5 or 6 million people that suffer a lifelong severe mental health condition. Now, I'm not talking about the situational or temporary mental health conditions that some people suffer. That's not even including that. So if we look at that statistic and the fact that it's on the rise, then we can start to see that this is something that's so important in our life, this ability to process our emotions. Now, there's a 4-step process that I like to use, and that process is, step number 1, we have to be able to identify the emotion that we are feeling. Okay, so we have to figure out what emotion is being triggered in me. Is it fear? Is it vulnerability? Is it anger? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is it disappointment? Again, a lot of the emotions that we feel can actually be intensifications of a much deeper emotion that we're failing to acknowledge, or we don't want to honor the fact that it's truly how we feel. So again, we've got to look at the emotion that is being triggered, the true emotion, not the surface emotion. Sometimes we might be feeling angry, and yet we express that anger as sadness because we think that anger is not acceptable. You know, there's little things like this that can happen. It can be the other way around. Sometimes we express anger because we think that sadness is not acceptable. And so that, again, looking at trying to find what emotion is being triggered. Step 2 is that we have to be able to identify the trigger and the cause of the emotion. So what situation, what circumstance in your life caused the emotion to come up? And again, this could be a situation at work. It could be a situation at home with your family. It could be a situation in any different area of your life. But the main important thing is that we identify what that is, where that is. You know, it could be a work situation where you have a boss that constantly puts you down, doesn't acknowledge your work, and maybe even shames you sometimes. And they're really crossing a boundary there, and they're not treating you with respect. So that can trigger a lot of emotions, potentially of shame or feeling like they're not respecting you or who you are as a human being. It could be in a relationship. It could be in your relationship at home that the person that you're in a relationship with is very aggressive and sometimes, abusive or neglectful, or they don't acknowledge you, or maybe you're disappointed in them and they're not listening to you, they're not engaging with you, or they're disengaged and shut down, and that's causing you a lot of stress. Whatever it is, we have to identify the situation and the circumstance. Step number 3 is we have to identify the action that we need to take to resolve, or to have a clean slate, or to move forward. What do we need to let go of? What action do we need to take in it to diminish the emotions, to resolve the emotions that we're feeling? And again, this action is so important, and it's so important to take the time to really identify what action it is we need to take. If it's anger, you might have to set boundaries with someone in your life. If you're feeling overwhelmed and like you've got too much stress, you might have to set boundaries with yourself with how much you're taking on, like taking on too many accountabilities, too much for too long. It's going to cause you to get stressed. It's going to cause you to get bogged down and feel overwhelmed. And that's going to cause you to be short and maybe angry with people that you wouldn't normally be angry with. So again, we have to look at what situation and what circumstance we need to take action in, and what action is that. And as I said, it could be setting boundaries. It could be, processing some emotions that have been triggered. A lot of times what happens is we have these emotions that get triggered inside of us. They're not even related to this current experience. They might be from a past trauma or pain that we've had in the past that we have never actually addressed, that keeps coming up and being triggered in different situations in our life. So then we might need somebody's help to go back to that, to find a way of dissolving those emotions so that we can let go of the past and step more fully into who we want to be now. And so again, if you can let go of those things, a lot of times you feel like a new person when you can, or if you can. Step number 4 is we have to take the action. Okay, so again, if we don't take action, nothing will change. Okay, it will stay the same. So we have to think about, what action can I take? What specific actions or action can I take to address the situation? And we have to take that action. Okay, so whether it be setting that boundary, whether it be having that difficult conversation with your partner, that things aren't working how you want them to be and something needs to change. Whether it's having that conversation with your kids that, you're going to spend more time at home and you're going to talk to your boss about getting more home time because you're really feeling stressed about not being able to spend enough time with your kids. Again, whatever that action is, whether it's going and seeing a therapist or psychologist or somebody to process some feelings that are there that you're hanging on to from the past that are really weighing you down and taking their toll on your life. So again, whatever it is for you, you have to find that action and you have to take action. Action is the point of courage. It's the place where we have the power to shift the things that are going on in our life. So again, go through that process again. Step number 1 is to identify the emotion. Step number 2 is to identify the trigger or the cause of the emotion. What situation or circumstance is that coming from? Step number 3 is to identify the action that you need to take. And this can take a little bit of time to sit down and to really be thoughtful and think about, what action do I need to take? And if you don't have the answers, then find somebody that can help you to help educate you and help you figure out what action that is. Step number 4 is take the action. Okay. If you follow this process, I guarantee you it will have a powerful effect on your life, and not only on tomorrow, but the rest of your life forward from now. I've seen this effect in my life and the life of people that I've given it to as an exercise to practice, who are clients of mine. So I want you to go and practice this daily ritual of processing your day. Have fun. I know it's going to work for you. I know it's a really powerful process. I will see you in the next video.